Simply close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence and hold space.
Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari.
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online global satsang. It sounds big, global. What it means is that we have people joining us in this satsang, these Monday night satsangs from many different continents and countries around the world. And that's a wonderful thing. It's something that the internet's made possible for so many meditations and various groups to gather and to transcend any boundaries of distance or national borders. So welcome tonight. This satsang consists, and satsang just means spiritual community really, or community of truth, those who are seeking truth on the path of awakening. And this community, besides consisting of people from all over the world, we come from different teachers, different teachings, different belief systems. What unites us here is not that we belong to some organization with a formal membership, but that we belong to the global company of people who are awakening and whose hearts are flowering. That's what brings us together. When we join our energy and our awareness together like this in satsang, whether it's gathering locally or gathering like this on the internet, our peace and our interior silence, our sense of presence is multiplied when we come together. So it's such an important part of the spiritual journey. Throughout these satsangs, we're sharing with everyone the flowering heart blessing. which has a fancy Sanskrit name, but we just call it Flowering Heart Blessing because that's really what it is. The Divine gave this to Suzanne and me about 7 years ago, but I'm sure it's been around forever. Suzanne and I have been involved with many different kinds of blessing, Shaktipat, Diksha, I could give it various names, divine transmissions of energy and consciousness. But about 7 years ago, the Divine gave us a slight shift in the blessing that we're presenting for the last 7 years. The Divine said to us, this one comes directly from me. It doesn't come through an avatar or a saint or a master or an organization or a religious tradition of any kind. It comes directly from the Divine Source to whoever asks for it and receives it from me, which is beautiful because that makes it truly interfaith or trans-faith. It belongs to no single tradition and certainly is not under the governance of a hierarchy or an organization. It can support whatever path you're on, be it Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Taoist, pagan, whatever path you're on. The Flowering Heart Blessing will support your journey home. When the Divine said also, it's free. This is a gift of grace, a gift of divine enlightened consciousness and energy to catalyze the awakening process, to catalyze the flowering of the heart. When you receive this blessing, you are instantly initiated. Divine was very clear on this, to be able to pass it on. So if you connect with these energies, you can invite the Divine to pour them through you, either through the laying on of hands with someone's informed consent, or at a distance in prayer, meditation, holding an intention in your heart. The Divine will flow through your intention, your request, and catalyze awakening in the receiver. The focus is on the heart, not specifically the heart chakra, but what in Sanskrit would be called Hridaya, which is the center of your spiritual being, your spiritual heart. It's more than the heart chakra. And if we go deep, deep, deep into Hridaya, into the spiritual heart, we come to a spark, may seem like a spark at first, of divine light and presence within us. As it turns out, that spark of divine light and consciousness at the center of our spiritual heart is our true sacred self. And it is the essence of enlightenment. It is already enlightened and it is fully divine. So everything we've been looking for through our spiritual practices, through visiting enlightened teachers or places of power, going through various spiritual processes. I don't know about you, but I've done bunches of them over the year, and so Suzanne. I'm sure many of you have too. To find out that what we were looking for was in us all along. In fact, what we were looking for is us. We are that spark of light. As Rumi said, likening it to water, the divine presence, the ocean of divinity, he said, we are not, or you are not, merely a drop of the divine or a drop of the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. When we go into that spark in the center of our being, we discover the entire universe is within us. Then we really understand what was meant by the outer world's reflection of the inner world. Everything we see reflected out there actually exists within us. And when we make contact, I don't mean intellectually or philosophically or through religious belief, but when we actually experience contact with that divine light at the center of our being, it begins to flower. That's the flowering of the heart. And that light begins to blossom and radiate and shine out from the center of our being through all the layers of spirit, soul, and body, transforming our lives on every level and shining into our relationships, transforming our relationships and rippling out from the center to infinity. So each time a person awakens to their divinity, awakens to their true essence, which is enlightened, it causes a ripple that goes out to affect the collective consciousness of humanity, and beyond that, the world and the universe. But that collective consciousness, humanity, is the key, the answer to the issues facing us on planet Earth today. Whether we're talking about the environment, or we're talking about war, or all of the various issues that are so critical that we face, the answer is a shift in the collective consciousness of humanity. The collective consciousness has largely experienced ourselves as separate beings with a birth date and a death date. And everything in between is very uncertain. In fact, we are spirit. In fact, you and I are the same spirit. There's one universal being. And we're all sharing in its existence, in its light of truth, and in its bliss and unconditional love, which is the nature of the divine source. It is manifesting through the universe. We can say that the universe itself is the body of the divine. But when we talk about humanity, 7.5 billion of us, we are 7.5 billion manifestations of one heart, one love, one universal being. The problem is most people don't experience themselves that way. Most people experience themselves as a separate ego. Hence, we tend to be insecure. In meeting other people, we wonder, will they hurt us or take advantage of us? And we're protective, and we compete. We've created a civilization of competition, conflict, and war for all of human history that we're aware of. It's time for that to be replaced with a new global civilization of cooperation instead of competition, harmony instead of conflict, and peace in place of violence and war. That peace, like everything else, is a reflection of what's happening inside of us. So when a person's heart flowers and they awaken, we look into each other's eyes, and I see you looking back at me. You see yourself looking back at you through my eyes. We realize that we are one being, and I'm no longer threatened by you because you're me. I don't need to compete with you. That's ridiculous because we're one being. How much more could we accomplish if we cooperated together harmoniously to achieve the goals of global transformation instead of competing with each other? And that's why so many of us are focused on awakening at this time. And knowing that as more and more of us individually awaken, it's rippling out through the collective consciousness. And I think, well, at least as long as I've been alive in this lifetime, I can tell you clearly that it is much easier to awaken and to deepen in awakened consciousness today than it was in the 1960s or 70s or 80s or any time leading up to this, because more and more people are awakening, and the power of that is slowly but surely going to transform the collective consciousness of humanity on this planet. It's happening one person at a time. So thank you for consenting to the journey. But the Flowering Heart Blessing is all about catalyzing that awakening process. And we invite you to join us in flowing out this blessing to all the participants in this satsang. And all you need to do is just offer yourself as an instrument to the divine, invite the presence to flow through you, and immediately it happens because it's not really up to you and me. We're simply vessels. And the minute we line up with the divine intent, the divine will, the divine takes over and does all the rest. And we welcome you if you come from another community or satsang or group that has another form of a spiritual blessing. If its purpose is to to catalyze awakening and the flowering of the heart, and it comes from the divine source, feel free to share it. But everyone here tonight is able to share the flowering heart blessing, like instantly, because you're floating in it right now. You're being saturated by it. So feel free to join us in pouring out that blessing throughout the entire program tonight. We will open it briefly to questions and answers about the spiritual journey, and then later on we'll be taking some powerful intentions for blessing, to ask the divine to intervene, to release miracles of grace in your lives and the lives of people that you're carrying with you in your heart tonight. And we'll conclude with the open eye light meditation, which, if you've already done it, you know what it is, and if you haven't, you're going to enjoy it. Just hang in there. Oh yes, and please give us a like or a love if you're on Facebook Live watching this, or even if you're watching the recording of this a year from the time we did it. We go back and look, and you can give us a thumbs up or a heart, and then we can see who shared with us in the satsang. If you're in one of the other places like Vimeo, you would need to enter something in the chat, and then let us know who you are, and we just love to know who dropped in, and we send you special little hugs and blessings at the end. Want to throw anything in at this point?
No.
Oh yeah, well, this coming Sunday.
Oh yeah.
This coming Sunday is our monthly interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ. That's a mouthful. I'm a number of things. I wear different hats. I am a Christian mystic, but I also have a lot of Vedic spirituality going, and I began and continue in the Taoist stream. That's where I began with my Taoist master, and I teach Taoist meditation, Qigong, Nuigong, healing, Nuigong Jiliao, using energy. But once a month, by popular demand, we do a communion service. And one of the things, I've served Christian communities of many different denominations over the last 50 years, and one of the things that made me sad is that each one of those communities had some special grace, and people felt like they couldn't participate, because generally there's a rule, you're not invited to communion unless you've accepted Christ as your Savior, or you formally entered the Orthodox or the Catholic Church or the Anglican communion or something like that. And I always felt the words of Jesus were, don't stop them, let the little children come to me. Whoever wills, let them come to me and drink. And so the door is open to everyone. We welcome you, whatever your faith life is or isn't. Pagans welcome. That may scandalize some people who are Christian, but unless people have had a taste of the real presence, the proof is in the pudding. So we invite everyone to participate, and we focus on the Cosmic Christ. The Cosmic Christ is that divine spark we were talking about that's at the heart of everything in creation. In the center of us, in the center of a rock, a tree, a mountain, a planet, a star, a galaxy. At the center of everything is the divine spark. And that's the Cosmic Christ. It holds the blueprint for transformation. Its qualities are pure unconditional love and mercy and compassion. Many people today have connected with the heart path, whether they're Mahayana Buddhists or whether they're Sufis or New Age believers. They've come to a place where the heart path is the center, and they get that. But religion, not so much. Christian religion, I don't know what I think about that. So what we say is that many people already have a relationship with the Cosmic Christ. And so we celebrate that and we welcome you to the table of communion. Then there's the historical Jesus, and Christians believe that he incarnated humanly that cosmic Christ. The cosmic Christ had no beginning because it's an aspect of God, and it has no end. It's always been and always will be, and it's universal. But Christians believe that about 2,000 years ago, that aspect of the divine took special birth through a human. And demonstrated so many beautiful things. So we do share a lot of the Master's teaching, but you're welcome to just relate to whatever aspect of the Christ you relate to. And this Sunday will be a special one. The title is Authority in Three Worlds. Think about that and come back Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time to 12:30 p.m. You can figure that in your own time zone, but it's also, the recording is archived here, or wherever you are, it'll be there long after we're done. And you could come back and watch it at another time if you have other commitments Sunday morning, which many people do. So, so there's that. One other thing before I forget. Last week, Jennifer asked, what is the meaning of that beautiful mantra that you use at the beginning of your satsangs? Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. What does it mean? She said that she and her daughter don't actually understand the words, but they just sort of chant along the sounds with us, which is beautiful because mantras really are sound vibration that alter reality and affect reality. But it has a special meaning, and I said I would share it with her. Now, I mentioned basically what it meant last week, but I didn't get back to you. I apologize. It's been a very busy week, so I'll do it right now. Om has no specific meaning. It's like the sound that manifested the universe. Almost all mantras generally begin and end with Om, but Gam Ganapataye Namaha essentially means my salutations to Lord Ganesha. Lord Ganesha. Who's Lord Ganesha? He's that dancing deity who's a fat boy with an elephant head. It was very cute and very fun, but Lord Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. So sometimes that mantra is translated as salutation to the remover of obstacles. Lord Ganesha, the elephant head aspect of the divine, rules over the root chakra. And so chanting Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, and that's just part of a larger mantra that's the invocation of Ganesha, is considered by many Hindu believers to be the most powerful mantra of all. It's hugely popular in southern India. Everywhere you go, you see Ganesha, the elephant-headed guy. And so this is invoking the aspect of the divine that rules over the root chakra. The root chakra is the seat of the Kundalini, the internal divine energy that when it's awakened begins to flood upward through the Shushumna, the central nadi, through all of the main chakras, awakening them and leading the divine energies of transformation into the crown chakra, which when it flowers into oneness with the universe is cosmic consciousness, is a form of enlightenment. So that's what that mantra is about, and it's very powerful. So I do apologize for not emailing you or messaging you, but that's the meaning. And that's that. So, April Allard writes, can I get you again to come cleanse our house? Well, you certainly can. Much love to you and Eric. It's been too long. It would be great to see you folks again and your family. Oh, Jennifer's here. Okay, you got my answer. There you go. Yeah. Because Namaha basically means salutations. It means I honor you, I salute you, and sort of literally I bow. But in India, the bowing is a universal gesture. Usually it's with namaste, which is from the same root as namaha. It means I bow to the divine presence in you. In India, people are taught to see the divine everywhere and everything. And life is all about union, to become one with that divine presence. And that's the meaning of yoga. Yoga means union. So it's a very, very beautiful culture and tradition. Yeah. Now would be the time for your questions. Anything about the spiritual journey and love back to the Fosters. We love you guys very much. So any questions about awakening, about divine union, oneness with God, about transformation, levitation, immortality, eternal life, reincarnation, meditation, anything about the spiritual journey. We all puzzle over and muse along the way over some aspects of spirituality. And asking the right questions is the key to getting answers. If you don't ask, then sometimes nothing happens. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open unto you. That's very, very true. But it helps all of us in satsang. Because when you ask a question, no matter how difficult, the divine inspires us with answers and clarity and insight along those lines. And we all benefit because even though our journeys are all different, they're all the same in some ways. And we experience a lot of the same impediments and challenges and ups and downs. And when we begin to share notes along the way, it's amazing how similar the journey is for everyone. Which is why one of the focuses in my life was to study, not just academically, yes, but also directly and experientially, various mystical traditions of the world. I mean, I don't want to read a book about Sufism. I want to do dhikr. I want to dance and chant the 100 names of Allah, you know. I want to... I wasn't interested in just reading about Buddhism. I wanted to practice Buddhist meditation with an awakened Buddhist master and experience what that's like. And so I did that with a number of traditions. And what I found, besides that there are these unique differences, that the states of consciousness that mystics go through are parallel. Whether you're a Christian mystic on the way to the transforming union, or whether you're a Taoist mystic on the way to the elixir of immortality, or you're a Buddhist on the way to nirvana and Buddhist awakening, the states that people go through in their path, they actually mirror each other. And the differences begin to fall away when you really begin to see and experience that. Now, the understanding around these states may be very different. I mean, in one tradition, maybe because you pleased God and you did a lot of good things and God's rewarding you. And in another tradition, it might not be about God at all. It might be about meditation and emptying yourself and surrendering to the void. But whatever the conceptual framework is, the actual mystical states and where they end up are parallel. Fascinating stuff. Okay. John says, when I had my chakra experience, it started at the navel and then went down and out and then up. A practice was taught, started at the root chakra. Any thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It depends. It depends on many things, myriad factors, Krishna Raj would say. But when my Kundalini was first awakened, I experienced the awakening in the root chakra. And without going into detail, I've got various descriptions of it on video. My root chakra exploded exploded orgasmically. I mean, beyond anything that the body had ever experienced. But instead of just going down and out like a normal physical human orgasm, it went like a shaft of lightning up my spine. And my brain lit up like a Christmas tree, I like to say. And then I felt this warm, like golden honey is the way I would describe it, pouring down the front of my body and reconnecting in the root chakra in a complete loop. In the West, it might be called the Ouroboros, the snake swallowing its tail. And the entire universe disappeared. And I found myself holding a golden ball in my hands. And I knew that was what Buddhists and Taoists call the triple treasure. It was spirit, soul, and body in union. It was Jing, Qi, and Shen fused into one, the immortal pill. Pretty cool. Okay, the next big experience I had with Kundalini awakening, I was with Swami Muktananda. And he was supercharged when he first came to the United States. And I experienced it first in the third chakra, which is why, it sort of leapt out at me what you said, is that I experienced spontaneous breath of fire, and this, it felt like a vice grip. It grabbed my solar plexus, the navel chakra, and just, it was like it was being crushed from every direction. And then it just exploded. My heart chakra just exploded, and I went into samadhi. And that was quite an experience. And when I came out of the light and hearing all of the angels singing and the most incredible harmonic mantra anybody's ever heard, Muktananda had gotten off his lotus throne and was standing there in front of me, looking at me with some curiosity. And he said in I think it was Hindi, "Bring this boy some chai." And but that one, I did experience, not surprisingly, so much power igniting in the third chakra, which you could say the navel or the solar plexus. And that makes sense because the third chakra is called Manipura, which means city of jewels, and it is the power chakra. So a lot of people do experience that kind of awakening, but still the divine energy is its residence before it's awakened is in the root chakra. But there are different ways that people experience it, for sure. And I think some people actually experience the awakening in the heart first. It really doesn't matter where you experience it, as long as it happens and it goes in the right direction. But thanks for sharing your experience. Did you want to add anything?
No.
Okay, on to Jennifer writes, last week you talked some about seeking signs from the divine and cautioned that there could be some deception, trickster activity, if we rely on this or seek it too much. Could you talk more about the possible deception or what to avoid unless you don't feel like it or it isn't the right time? Yeah, sure. I don't want people to be afraid of the trickster. I mean, that's kind of a name given to these aspects of the divine in like Loki in Nordic religion, or Kokopeli in some of the Western indigenous traditions. There's an aspect of the divine in some traditions that's seen as a trickster, a jokester. But I don't want to really focus on that. It's just that if we rely on physical sensory signs, they're not reliable, like the direct revelation of inspiration to the heart. The divine leads us primarily through the spirit, through our hearts. Now the divine can paint a rainbow in the sky. The divine could speak to our minds. The divine could give us feelings of tingling. But being guided through the mind, through visions and voices, being guided through the physical senses of the body through tingles and sensations, can we can misinterpret those things, and they don't always come from the divine. Some people go, oh, I feel all this energy. This must be the divine presence. Not necessarily. There are a lot of powerful spiritual beings and aspects in the universe that can give you visions, that could give you things you might hear, feelings of energy in your body, and that's not a reliable way. I've known people that did that. And they went, oh, every time my hands get warm and I feel that tingling in my hands, I know that's the Holy Spirit and I know that's God talking. Well, that might be true for that person, but that's not primarily even in the Christian tradition. It says, as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the children of God, not those that are led by physical sensations of ecstasy or energy, or led by voices, because that can, for instance, a lot of psychotic experiences that are really delusional have a religious tinge to them, and people think they're hearing from God and have these very powerful physical and imaginal experiences that aren't. So the safest and most direct route is to get out of your head into your heart, cultivate a deep bond with the divine, and listen to that quiet, gentle knowing, without a lot of bells and whistles and fireworks. I think you got something. Were you going to add something to that?
No, it just makes me think of times in the past when I would go to psychics, and there was one I was trying to decide where to move to, and she was coming from fear and said, oh, you shouldn't go there. You've got a lot of really bad karma there, and don't go there. And I went there, and I had a great 10, 11 years living there, met a lot of wonderful people, and really grew and developed. And so I think sometimes we take what other people say too much at heart instead of weighing in with our hearts, like Michael said. For me, if it doesn't resonate in my heart, when I hear something, anything, if I hear the news, if I hear somebody walking by on the street talking about something, if it doesn't resonate, and same thing with going to like spiritual workshops, you know, we could get all high in the energy and all excited about the new spiritual practice, but the parts that don't resonate, you know, at the end of the day, you just kind of leave them at the door and adapt what works for you and flows with your life. But definitely developing a relationship with the divine, like Michael said, that you start to get that peace and that clarity and that calm that comes from the divine, instead of the chaos and the drama and fear that comes from the mind and the ego.
Jennifer writes, thank you, makes perfect sense. Another thing, it depends on your tradition, but say you're a Christian mystic. It can help to familiarize yourself with Scripture. And I don't mean the surface understanding, because like the Hebrew and Christian Scriptures, there's a lot of stuff in there. Well, Christ and St. Paul both said that the superficial understanding of religious Scripture kills. It does not bring life. It brings rules, restrictions, condemnation, all kinds of things. You see what religion has done with it. But Christ said, the words actually that I speak to you are spirit and life. If you get beneath the surface and you actually familiarize yourself with the language of Scripture, you recognize the whisperings to your heart as being consistent or harmonious with that. I would say to my Taoist friends, meditate in the Tao Te Ching and the writings of some of the more illuminated sages like Lu Dongbin or others, Chuang Tzu, that if you familiarize yourself with these scriptures that have come through the hearts and the pens of these truly enlightened teachers, then when your experience kind of resonates with those truths, you'll recognize the voice of the Spirit when it comes to you. So, Bhagavad Gita, if you're a Hindu, you know. I could go through all the traditions and make suggestions, but you can find them for yourself. John added, it was like a knot of energy at the navel, then down and out, then up, and the room went white. I and the light were one. Pure, infinite love and power. Nice. That's just beautiful. I had another thought as I read that. I don't remember the context in which that happened for you, but that naval experience I was talking about with Muktananda, I received Shaktipat. There was a divine spirit that was moving through the room, putting people in these intense Kundalini states. And so there was a very powerful injection of energy and divine power that would come into people, and then the Kundalini would go. Well, it's not surprising that power would take the root chakra, the navel chakra, and supercharge it and open it up. And it would feel to you like a knot, and it felt to me like it was being crushed in a vice. But in those cases, I think we were being acted on by a divine manifestation outside of ourself that was energizing our chakra system. So that's just a guess. I don't need to be right at all, but you asked for my thoughts. So, and John says, some say ask advice from various sources, then pray for an answer. The thing is, if we do that, yes, I agree. If we do that with our minds,
Right.
I know people that have gotten so confused because they read every book on the shelf, and there were all these spiritual teachers giving contradictory information, some of it not really helpful. So, and so, yes, I would say find the source first, and then see what these various sources have to say. In the Taoist tradition, for instance, it would say to be faithful to your master, to just be nourished from one source, not from 10 sources that are confusing your mind. But once you get to a certain point, to avail yourself of the light and the teaching that flows through all enlightened teachers that come your way. But at that point, I think you won't be confused, because it will be what Suzanne said. Is this resonating with the foundation that's been laid in me by my original teacher and original teaching? These are good questions.
They are great questions. Thanks.
Really, it should be a course on spiritual discernment, and we should spend all day on it. But not bad for a few minutes.
No, thank you.
I really appreciate these insightful questions and sharings. Okay, let's see. Alrighty. All right, it's time to move on. So if you would, close your eyes and just leave them closed and open yourself to that spark of divine presence at the center of your being. Invoke the presence, invite the presence, welcome the divine. This divine presence that dwells within you loves you unconditionally, no strings attached, more than you love yourself. It knows all of your weirdness, all of your strengths and your weaknesses, knows everything you've done and everything you're going to do, and still loves you unconditionally, exactly as you are. So invoke the presence within. Receive the embrace of the one who loves you more than anything else in existence, the divine presence itself. There is no distance. You exist and live inside the presence. And because its love is unconditional, there's no kind of separation between you and the divine. That's the stuff of religion. Some religion, not good religion. But good teaching affirms that you are already one with the divine itself. It yearns to draw you into oneness with itself, to free you from suffering, to free you from from separation, which is an illusion of the mind. To heal your heart of all of its brokenness and woundedness. To heal your mind, your soul, from all of the wrong thinking, the emotional charges and programming. And it will do that. It yearns to heal your physical body of disease and pain. So let it be. It yearns to flood your relationships and bring healing and wholeness to all of your human relationships, and to shine out through you to the world. Receive the flowering heart blessing. This presence knows exactly what you need, even better than you do, and knows exactly how to get it to you. This is the most powerful being in the universe. Just receive. Keeping your eyes closed, visualize us sitting in a big circle together, a blessing circle. Visualize in the center of our circle the planet Earth, beautiful blue Mother Earth, holy Gaia, the living planet that we all are a part of and enjoy. Let us all lift up our hands with our palms open, facing forward, and let us take a strong intention in line with the intention of the divine itself, who said, God causes wars to cease to the end of the earth, breaking the bow. He snaps the spear and burns the chariots with fire, putting an end to war. Let us ask the divine now to pour the flowering heart blessing out to every human being on planet Earth, to melt away, to transform all violence. To extinguish the fire of war and replace it with a brilliant fire of divine light and awareness. like little red sparks of war fire, various places all over that beautiful blue planet. Let us see the golden white light extinguishing those red flames and transforming them to the golden white light of awakening and transformation. Shanti, Shanti, which means peace, 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 peace on earth. And now, before we move on, let us ask the Divine to pour the blessing through each of us to all the others in the circle to grant miracles of divine intervention to help with all of the various issues and challenges that you've brought with you to this circle tonight, or anyone who tunes in the future. Relax your hands and open your eyes. And begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just make sure you're continually looking at least one of our eyes as we enter the open eye light meditation. Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of divine grace that begin pouring through us to you, through every fiber of our being, but especially through our eyes. For the eyes have been called the doorways of the soul. As you just keep looking, that light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, causing the divine love and the light of awakening within you to burn brighter and brighter within you. Nothing to do but just keep looking and let it happen. this for a few more minutes as the grace settles within. Keep meditating as long as it feels right to you. And you could also lie down nearby in Shavasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just let yourself dissolve in gratitude and presence. We love you a lot.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine within us beholds the divine within you, and we bow